My name is Tony. This is Politique. Now, how you guys doing? Merry Christmas. If you're seeing this when it drops, as you can tell, you might see this 2 years from now, and you'll be able to tell what time of year it is by my very festive sweater. So, this is a follow-up episode on something I posted a while back. I told a story about how my buddies Brett and Mark from the Retro Hell podcast started talking about this drink called Malort. And it's actually, since they started talking about it, gotten a little bit of notoriety. Like, I started seeing it in stores around here in Nashville, and it's starting to pop up as the new hipster thing, right? Kind of like the way bad beer got popular 10 years ago. But they had I did a reaction video a couple of weeks ago, and it really turned out kind of anticlimactic. And I was afraid of that, and I'll tell you why. Because it really wasn't that bad. Brett will start gagging every time he starts talking about it, and but you know what? You got to keep this in mind though. I came of drinking age. Well, I was drinking in bars illegally, but when I started legally drinking in bars in 2001, the craft cocktail movement hadn't really begun in earnest yet. We had all the layover drinks from the 90s. So, I mean, when you cut your teeth on Jaeger bombs, Malort really isn't that bad. Now, it is apparently it's supposed to be one of those, what do you call that, hazing shots, it's a big thing in Chicago area, and one of those things that you do when people come to visit and you're from there, and you give them the shot and they're supposed to be gross or whatever. It's not good, but it's not the worst thing I've ever tried. I drink a lot of spirits though, and you've heard some of my opinions on the podcast about some of the stuff I don't like and why I don't like it. And when you drink a lot of heavy stuff, you just kind of burn your palate out, I guess. Also, being a cigar smoker, I mean, my palate is just burned out. So, but one of the things that we started talking about with them, that I started talking about with them, I think it was on an episode that I was on of their podcast, and was that I was going to try to see if I can make a drink out of this horrible spirit, this Malort. And so I wanted to sit down, and I had a couple of criteria for this. First of all, I want to preface by saying I am not a professional bartender. Probably could be with the proper training. I know my way around a bar. Home bartending, I know, is a far cry from working. And also, you watch this show like Drink Masters on Netflix, right? Or you go down to, I was just in Manhattan a few weeks ago, and you look at these bartenders make these drinks in these really upscale bars, and you're like, yeah, that's these flavor profiles are not, I would never think of that and put those two things together. But that being said, I know enough drinks. I have a big enough catalog of recipes of drinks that I know how to make, that I'm pretty good at mixing and matching and knowing what goes together and kind of subbing things out and riffing. Even though I don't like riffing, I prefer to stay to the original. But I'm pretty good. Through my Rolodex of cocktails that I know, I feel like I do a pretty good job. Even the few originals that I made up, I think they're pretty decent. One of the lessons that you kind of learn is to not go too simple with it and carry on your flavor, your juices and your sweets and sours. You do want to use a spirit to come through the cocktail, which is why my other criteria for this was I didn't want to just throw a bunch of juices and sweeteners on there that was going to hide it. I could have easily just put this into a drink with another bit of rum or something like that was going to overpower it, and you would not know it's even in there. And oh yeah, it's a great drink. But like I said before, you can, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, you can deep fry it and put a bunch of hot sauce or something on it, and it's gonna taste good, right? You can make anything taste good if you hide it, the flavor of it. Duh. So I didn't want to do that. But also, this is not a flavor. This is not a spirit that has a flavor that you want to focus on in a cocktail. Let's be honest. It's not like this. It's not like there's a lot of nuance to it. So I settled on something, sort of a riff. I was making zombies the other day, and I always kind of thought this drink fell in that kind of flavor profile. It's not as licoricey as I thought it would be, but and then come to mention all the times that I talk to the guys from the Retro How, and they always, they'll talk about how this tastes like death. Well, I thought the perfect way to resurrect a spirit from the annals of dystopia, where they put it, is to bring it back to life, to resurrect it, to make it a zombie. Now, I am not going to make a zombie with this. That would just be a ripoff. But I used the zombie cocktail as a basis to kind of jumpstart where I was going with this. If you know anything about the zombie, you'll recognize some of these ingredients, but I didn't just blatantly rip it off. It's not just a zombie with this in it, and it's not just a... I didn't use all the ingredients that goes in a zombie, because some of them are kind of redundant with the flavor of the spirit already. The other last criteria I had was, these guys sometimes give me shit for making tiki drinks or making cocktails that use a lot of ingredients that are just not common, that you're not going to be able to find, or they're expensive, or you don't want to buy a bottle of it and then have it for a year because you only use a half ounce at a time. I totally get it. It makes sense for me because I make a bunch of tiki drinks. If you don't, then you're not gonna go out and put the effort. Also, if a drink is too complicated, you're not gonna go out and put the effort into making it, and you're not gonna you want to sit there and drink something that's easy to put together. Now, I want these guys, talking to you guys, Mark, Brett, I want you guys to try this. In fact, Brett works at a cigar lounge that has a full bar in it. You can find all this stuff at your bar and give it a try. The reason why I kept this drink simple is because I want you guys to try it. I didn't use anything in this cocktail that you can't find at your grocery store or a regular liquor store. In fact, I think the most exotic thing is Angostura bitters, and any liquor store has that. In fact, depending on where you live, the grocery store sometimes has it. Hopefully I got enough in there to finish this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab these Malorts. We're going to use the Malort as the base spirit. This is going to be a shaken drink. We're going to put it into a cocktail glass. We're going to use lime juice. We're going to do grapefruit juice. We're going to do cinnamon syrup and grenadine. Cinnamon syrup, I know you guys are saying, well, you told me I could find this stuff. Well, your stuff's all in these little bottles. I make homemade cinnamon syrup because I don't want all the high fructose corn syrup in my stuff. Call me a hypocrite, whatever. I'm already drinking alcohol. What's the big deal? But high fructose corn syrup is the devil, and I blame it for a majority of the obesity problem in this country. So I like to make my homemade syrup. If you're interested in that, it's super easy. I talk about it, I think, in the Nui episode of the podcast. Go ahead and check out the Pod Tiki podcast. In fact, maybe in the recipe section, I should make a little note about how to make homemade syrups and stuff like that. I haven't done that yet, but I should do that. But it's super easy. You just make a regular simple syrup and you boil cinnamon sticks in it. There's a little bit more to that. I talk about it in the podcast, but it's pretty simple. But if you don't want to do it homemade, it's fine if you just go to the store and buy the like Toronto or whatever it is. You find it usually in the coffee aisle. Any kind of cinnamon syrup, it'll work just fine. The other thing is grenadine. Same thing. I don't like the high fructose corn syrup, or also I don't think the store-bought grenadine has a good pomegranate flavor to it. It's more like a sugary cherry drink, which is not what grenadine's supposed to be. But again, I make my own because I use enough. I make enough drinks that require a good flavor that it makes it worth it. If you're just making this and this is all you're gonna do, just go get the grenadine from the grocery store. It's fine. Or if you're at the liquor store getting Angostura bitters and they have like a little bit of a better grenadine than the grocery store one, go ahead and get that. But again, it's not going to make that big of a difference if in this particular cocktail. It will make it sweeter if you get the grocery store stuff. So maybe use a little bit less than what we're about to go over. But again, this is not a perfected cocktail. And I would never usually say store-bought or the grocery store grenadine is good, but I've learned my lesson on that. I will never do that again. But again, you can get grenadine in the store, and it will not alter the flavor of the drink too terribly much in this particular case, which we're using so little of it. I just wanted to make it easy enough that everybody can go out and get these at like anywhere. All right, well, in that case, let's get started, right? One last thing. So the guys only sent me 2 airplane bottles worth of Malort. No dig on them at all. I'm happy they sent me anything at all. I'm glad they thought of me, and I'm glad they included me in this little venture. I'm not saying anything to them. Plus, I know shipping is crazy right now. But with the little amount that I have, it did not leave me a lot of room for testing and experimenting. And honestly, like I was saying before, I'm not about to go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of this. So the last little kicker on this is I just made this drink up and haven't tried it yet. I'm going to put together a drink right now with this Malort and this Jepson's Malort liqueur, and I'm going to try it here with you guys for the first time. Don't know what it's going to look like, don't know what it's going to taste like. Got a pretty good idea because I know what Malort tastes like and I know what all this stuff together tastes like. But let's give it a shot and see what happens. The first thing we're going to do, actually, let me go get my little cup of ice that I have pre-set up over here. Didn't want it to melt, so I left it over here. Kept it in the freezer because, you know me, if you guys listen to the podcast at all or watch any of these videos, you know I can ramble on for a long time, and I know myself, so I kept this in the freezer, so just in case. Alright. We're going to take 2 ounces of your straight up Jepson's Malort, baby. 2 ounces. Isn't that kind of a jip? Like, an airplane bottle is not even 2 ounces. It's like just shy of 2 ounces. So it's like, you want to make a drink on a plane, which is the sequel. I'm coming out with that. It's my new sequel. It's not snakes on a plane. It's drinks on a plane. Trademark, copyright. Mail it to myself. Does it work if you email it to yourself? All right, 2 ounces of that Malort. I tell you what, I got a little bit left. I'm going to try it again just to refresh my memory of how bad it is. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't hate it. It's got a strong medicine after flavor, like I said before. Going down is kind of sweet, kind of like woody, but kind of medicine-y on the back end. I don't like the back end. I don't like the back end of it. I'm hoping that having a cocktail with it will take away from that. All right, we're going to do a full ounce of lime juice. Again, I'm just guessing on these. I'm just trying this out. Do a full ounce of that. We're going to do a ½ ounce of grapefruit juice. Got the pink grapefruit here, which is good because it has a little bit more of a pungent flavor to it, and it will do a little bit to cover up. So we'll do a ½ ounce of that. Give it some color too. We'll do a ½ ounce of cinnamon syrup. Oh man, it just smells so good, especially around the holidays. It smells like pumpkin pie. It smells like pumpkin pie moonshine, but it's not. Don't drink this out. You'll have a diabetic coma. ½ ounce of that cinnamon syrup. Put that back. Damn, I love the way that smells. Then we're gonna do a ½ ounce of the grenadine. Grenadine, oh grenadine. Be whispering words of wisdom if this doesn't go right. And then a couple of dashes of Angostura Bitters. Angostura. I like to always do 3 dashes. If it calls for a dash, I do 2. If it calls for a couple, I do 3. I like Angostura. I like the way the bitterness kind of comes through on it. All right, we're gonna put some ice in here. Ice, you know, a lot of people, I think if you don't think about it, you think, oh, the ice is just to cool the drink down. No, a real cocktail actually calls in the recipe for spirits, bitters, and water. It calls for something else too. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. But one of the ingredients in a true the true definition of a cocktail is water. And you know, in this day and age, we've cut a lot of that out. But by shaking it with ice or stirring it with ice, it actually does dilute the drink just a little bit. And that's the scant a bit of water that makes it a true cocktail. I've never done this sitting down before. Alright, let's see what happens. Oh, it's got a nice peach-colored hue to it. All right. I mean, it looks nice. Should have double strained it, but all right, all right. Moment of truth. Ah, shit! You motherfuckers were right. When you first sip it, it tastes freaking delicious. Cherry, cinnamon, almost a little bit of alcohol. But by the time the sip got past my tongue, the aftertaste of the Malort overtook everything. The only thing saving it was there's still a little bit of that simple syrup sweetness on my tongue. Wow. It's almost like they designed this drink to be bad on purpose. Like this, it's like, how can we make something that tastes good as it goes over your tongue, but as soon as it passes your tongue, it's gross. It just turns gross. It's like it's genetically engineered to have a disgusting aftertaste, even through, I mean, wow. Look, we used 2 separate citrus juices with all that acid. We used 2 separate sweeteners that are enhanced with other flavors. Like, this is a straight 1-to-1 simple syrup. It's pretty sweet. And this grenadine I made with real pomegranate juice and straight sugar. Like, these are not like mild mixers. And indeed, they did make a good flavor for like a second. But it's that aftertaste. How does Jepson get a spirit that tastes okay going over your tongue, and then as soon as it passes, it's bad. It's so bad. Like, and you know what? It makes it worse in a cocktail, because when you do it as a shot, you get a little bit of the sweetness, you get some alcohol. You're expecting to get that alcohol. You're expecting to get that shooter, that kind of burnt. In a cocktail, you're like, oh, this is going to hide the bad parts. And it doesn't. It doesn't. Wow. What a shame. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like when you're a little kid and like your mom or somebody or your grandma will put medicine in like something that tastes good. Like, I mean, literally a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Um, that's all this is doing, is helping this go down, but it still has that aftertaste. I don't understand how does that happen? How does it get grosser? Like, it's bewilders my mind. I have no words. I wish I was a better wordsmith and quicker with the tongue, and I can come up with something to let you guys know how what this feels like. A good analogy for this, but it really does feel like again, I'm going to bring it back to the zombie analogy. Like when you when you when you drink a zombie, there are some exotic flavors in there that have a little bit of a medicinal quality to them, like the Pernod and some of the licorice flavor, the wormwood, stuff like that. If you use absinthe, some of the dark rums that are really high proof, but it's balanced out with a sweetness and a tartness. This like tricks you. This is a very duplicitous cocktail. It right off the tongue. Again, I can't get over the fact that it actually tastes good as you're sipping it, and then as soon as you stop the sip, the Malort just comes in like it comes back up at you. Like this is like, you know how when Bugs Bunny used to put on the drag to fool Elmer Fudd, and then he pulls it off and he's the bunny underneath. This cocktail is like drag it's like this Malort going in drag, and then you get it home and you realize that that's a real beard, and there's more than just the beard. And it's so sad because it actually tastes really good. Like the combination of the cinnamon syrup and the grenadine with the grapefruit juice. If this was just like a light rum in here, this would be a splendid cocktail, especially around the holidays with the cinnamon. Well, I did my best, guys, and there you have it. You know what though? This is a cocktail. We created it. It's now in existence. Yeah, I'm gonna dub this in honor of Brett Phillips. I'm gonna call this cocktail the Flat Earther, because no one should take it seriously. Salud. Have a good day, good night, good year, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Wherever you are, try the local spirit. It might be gross, but you can say you did it, and it's always worth it to say you did it, even if it's bad. Look, I've done some crazy shit, and some bad shit could have happened from it, but I'm still kind of glad I did it, and the experience was well worth the risk. And we all got to do that. We all got to do our what do they call that? Like risk analysis. We got our cost benefit analysis of life. You know, for this, as far as just sipping a drink, trying to make it, I think I came out on top. Now I got this in my flavor profile. Now I know what this tastes like, and I know what the Flat Earther tastes like, and I choose to pass on both. But what I don't pass on is saying thank you to Brett and Mark for putting me up to this challenge, because it was definitely a fun experience, and it gave me something to do as I'm getting ready for the holidays. Get me to take a little break away from all the BS that comes with getting ready for the holidays. And yeah, so make sure you guys check out the Retro Hell podcast. These guys, it's very conversational. Those guys are really quick and they're funny, and you know, in this day and age, we don't always have to agree with everything each other says to be friends. You know, they speak their mind, I speak my mind. But what's cool about it is those guys have always had mad respect for me, and I got mad respect for them. So check out the Retro Hell, check out the podcast. You know, if you got to sit through a little Formula One talk once in a while, I promise you they'll smoke some cigars at some point. But it's really fun to sit and chat with them because they're freaking hilarious. So check them out. It feels like you're just hanging out having a conversation with your buddies. In fact, when I'm on the podcast, I feel um, like the first time I was on their show, I felt like I had known them for like 10 years because I've been listening for so long, right? So, and that's the kind of thing we have to keep on promoting. It's the same thing with Pod Tiki. Pod Tiki, I cannot, I know not everybody that follows the podcast watches the YouTube, but let me say it here. We've grown quite a bit in the last year. And enough where, like, 2023 is going to take us to the next step. So, hopefully there's some big things coming. It might take 6 months to a year for them to get finalized. I'm just saying that we're at the point now where we have the numbers to do that, the next step. And that comes from people believing in the little guys. People believing, I mean, look, I do a podcast that I literally record in the next room. I'm in my kitchen right now. I do all the videos and everything from here, and that's how everybody started, right? Look at all the big YouTube guys, all the big podcasts. Go back to like episode 1 through 10. They all started like this. And, I had another successful podcast before this called Share Your Buzz that I really enjoyed doing. That was always homebrewed and grassroots. And I love that kind of stuff. Of course, I hope to get better production, better things like that in the future. But honestly, if the message is getting out and people are enjoying it, I'm so happy. Also, I'm going to be planning on doing a few more events this year. First one, I don't want to put it out there because I don't want it to go to jinx it, but there's one that I really want to go to this year that, and I really want to get more in touch with my East Coast Tiki people, man. I want to get down to Florida a lot more this year and hook up with, the people from Suffering Bastard, Aku Aku, Luau Lads, the Tropics out in Cocoa Beach. The Mai Kai is going to open again in the spring. Are you kidding me? The freaking Mai Kai, man. I'm going to be going down there. We got friends in Fort Lauderdale, so we'll definitely be going down there. Exciting things happening. If you want to know about all of it, check out podtiki.com. That's where you're going to find all of the podcasts, the archives, the recipe index if you just want recipes. Also, the Share Your Buzz stuff is on there. I know I'm rambling, but this is probably the last time I'm going to talk to you guys before the end of the year. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. It's probably the best place. I know it's Instagram's an old man thing now, but you can get pod_tiki. Follow me at rum_poet. We actually do have a TikTok. If you want to tick the talks and you want to talk on the ticks, you can follow tiki.tony or tony.tiki, I think it is. It's tony.tiki. Because there's already a Tiki Tony out there and I didn't want to bite his style. So just follow it on there. You'll find me. I don't do too much on there. I like to start doing more. It's just, to be honest, I'm old and I don't know how to work it. So all these cool filters everybody does, it seems like it's a lot of the same thing over and over again when you scroll. And I just want to do cool, different stuff. But I'm also, I like looking at pictures better than 15-second videos that don't mean anything. I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong and I need to start. Maybe I should hire a team. Maybe I should get a team, a pod team, a pod team key, pod team key. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But once again, here's to the flat earthers. Oh, yeah. There it is. Didn't get any better. Nope. You know what, guys? Just never mind. Let's keep it tiki out there.